Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to Monster Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen in front of you right now, today's installment is going to be taking a closer look at the new G.I. Joe Classified Series Sundown figure. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know about Sundown. So if you've been thinking about picking one up for yourself, you'll have good, thorough information to make a purchase decision around. We'll kick things off by jumping back in time and taking a look at the packaging on the day Sundown arrived on my doorstep. Then we'll get into the figure himself and talk about the aesthetic and the visual experience, talk about the articulation and posability, have a rundown of all the accessories and added value, and then pop him next to a couple of other G.I. Joe Classified Series characters to see how he compares. And with all that said and done, you should have plenty of information to know whether Sundown is the guy you want to crack your wallet or purse open for. So let's get into it, and let's jump back in time to visit past Chris, taking a look at the box on the day he arrived. Here we go. Alright then, folks, well, here is Alejandro Balam's Sundown Luna Mendoza in packaging. We'll call him Sundown for short for the remainder of this video. And as you can see, it's the standard G.I. Joe Classified Series packaging we've had for quite some time now. Got the carbon fiber motif, the name of the character in the top left, the G.I. Joe Classified Series logo at the bottom here, and then the windows showing off the figure and all the goodies. Then on the back, we've got the digital render showing off the figure in an action shot, a couple of breakaway windows with some key features highlighted. Sundown here is number 200 in the line. Got my import sticker here. This has come from a retailer here in the UK that imports. Thanks once again to In Demand Toys. Then we've got the legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. And then, of course, the file card information. Let's take a closer look at that and learn more about Sundown together, shall we? And first up here, we've got the lawman symbol. Sundown is a lawman. And folks, do you know what a lawman is? Well, a lawman is a killer of men. That's what the job calls for. Then we've got a pile of bullets here, folks. This is because out in the West, a badge may carry the law, but a bullet carries the consequences. Then we've got this little night sky scene. The Sundown, while he's on the hunt, while he's tracking down his prey, camps out in the West, out in the wilds, and for him, the best part is the night. He loves lying out there beneath the blanket of stars with the old moon smiling down on him. And then finally, we've got a set of kind of footprints in the sand there, because Sundown tracks his, the criminal element as a lawman stroke bounty hunter type. And, a man's got to do something for a living these days. Although, remember, folks, dying ain't much of a living. Then on one of the sides, we've got the artwork here. It's no secret, anyone watches my reviews regularly will know that I've been a bit turned off by the quality of the artwork of late and the suspicion that it's AI artwork, and this one looks a tiny bit janky too. And then the usual crap on the other side, which is just repeat information and the QR code for nowhere. And there we are then, folks. There's Sundown in packaging for the minting box, folks. But I'm not minting box. I'm going to go away and crack this bad boy open, get good and hands-on, have some man-child playtime, pose him up, take some photos, put him into some displays with some other G.I. Joe Classified Series figures, see how he sits in amongst the rest of the gang. And I'm going to jot down a few review thoughts. So stick around, because Future Chris is going to come back and share those review thoughts with you in 3, 2, 1... All right then, folks, well, here's Sundown as he came out the packaging. No accessories added to him, just straight figure as he was in the plastic prison. And here's your full head-to-toe look at the figure to get us started to kick things off. And obviously, he's a new invention. He's a unique character that's been introduced to G.I. Joe through the G.I. Joe Classified Series line. He's got a whole lore piece attached to him where he's a Mexican bounty hunter, and he's obviously giving off strong sort of Wild West cowboy aesthetic vibes, which, stand out straight away as soon as you look at the figure. I'm going to get things started by talking about the poncho first. Normally I start with the head sculpt, but I'm going to start with the poncho first because I'm going to slip it off in a second. So you can see he's got this lovely kind of turquoise blue design. There's a nice wash in there to give it some textured detail. Got his nice little frilly bits down the front. And then if I turn him around, you can see we've got these lovely texture lines in there. It drapes really nicely across the figure. And then we've got this kind of South American motif design stitched into the back. Sundown's been around. You can see little rips and tears and little bits of kind of battle damage and wear and tear on the poncho too, which is a nice touch. And it's been sculpted really nicely so that it sits nice and flush across the shoulders. They've even kind of done a little cutaway here to acknowledge the radio that he's wearing on his shoulder there. So it sits kind of nice and comfortable across the top of the figure. I will pop it off for the rest of this section, though, so we can get a look at some of the other bits on the figure. The head sculpt, then, yes, nice, lovely, unique character. with well-sculpted facial features, up to the usual G.I. Joe Classified Series standard. You can see he's got his beard and his stash there with sculpted detail in the little hairs. He's got the shaven section down the side here that's sculpted in. Nice nose, cheeks, the eyes and the eyebrows are sculpted in. He's got a little scar there just under his floppy fringe bit on the hair, which stands out more when you swap the hair out for the hat. And then the hairpiece too, all nicely sculpted, like I say, with this floppy emo fringe thing going on. Moving further down, we can see he's got his tattoo on his neck, the kind of winged creature thing. Is it an owl maybe? There, and then some more tattoos across his chest. And then moving down into the figure itself, we can see lots of sculpted detail in the tactical vest here, with the little sky blue turquoise bits matching up with his poncho. Paint applications there, little decal with the Joe symbol on it, little gem on his knife sheath, painted radio, and then some black straps across the top, which is nice. You can see underneath he's got like a ribbed kind of tank top over the top of his blue shirt, his grey blue shirt. And then we've got all this gun belt stuff going on. So the bullets are independently painted in the belt here. We've got 2 buckles that are individually painted too. You folks know I love a good painted belt buckle. So we've got a brass one at the top and then this turquoise blue one here at the bottom. Some other embellishments like this little hairy piece. What's that? Someone let me know in the comments down below. Why would he be carrying a little kind of fur whip thing? And if I turn it around, you can see the nice leathery texture detail, especially on the bits of the straps at the back. The belt's obviously attached to his thigh holsters here. Same sort of brown leathery design with the same little kind of blue gem symbol as he's got in his knife sheath, which is nice to see. It does ride up a bit. I've found it very difficult to bring it down to be a little bit more waist height. I think because of the height of the thigh holsters, it kind of sits up on the body a little bit higher. I like the belt to be, at the belt. But it doesn't look too bad in that respect. And then coming down into the legs, you can see you've got the usual texture detail in the trouser legs there, giving it some depth. Got the black painted knee pads and shin guards, and then his cowboy style boots with the stirrups and the steel toe caps on there, all with individual kind of very dark metal iron kind of style paint applications on them, which is nice to see. On the left arm here, you can see he's got a panther tattoo and his watch. We've seen this watch before with the watch face little decal added to it as well. And you can also see the texture detail in where his sleeves have been rolled up on his little kind of bluey grey shirt thing. And then on the other side, he's got his little kind of bracer here with some painted, these look like shotgun shells to me, but he doesn't come with a shotgun. And then a little kind of info pad thing here. I don't know, a little phone pocket with some targeting information. And then he's got brown gloved hands. So yeah, overall aesthetically, I think he's a really interesting character. A lot of shelf presence, really pops, got a nice little splash of colour. Brings something interesting in terms of a kind of aesthetic theme in the sort of Wild West cowboy sort of vibe thing that he's got going on, which works for me. I suppose your mileage will vary as to how accommodating and willing you are and open-minded you are about having a kind of cowboy theme this full on in your line. But I do think, if you take the poncho off, he becomes a little bit more kind of tactically settled in with the look and vibe of the line overall. So if you're not fully into the kind of cowboy thing and you don't want to go full hat and poncho, you don't want to do full, nameless man, then you can do. And I think he looks fine either way. I've tried him out in both cases. I'm into the kind of Wild West aesthetic. It works for me. So yeah, I think he's aesthetically a very interesting character with a lot of shelf presence. Brings something a bit new and fresh, and I'm into it. So there we go. Okay, so thumbs up on the aesthetic for me. Let's now take a look at the articulation and posability, shall we? And as always, folks, I'll kick things off by pointing out that it's standard G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation overall. So if you're already familiar with that and you've got a little interest in the articulation section of the video, then please avail yourself of the timestamps. I put chapters in so you can jump ahead to take a look at my review of the accessories and added value. However, if this is the first G.I. Joe Classified Series review you've ever watched, or if you want to know if there's any particular quirks in the articulation outside of the usual G.I. Joe Classified Series stuff, then stick around and I'll talk you through it, and I'll get started up top with the head. And Sundown comes with a ball at the base of the skull, ball at the base of the neck, giving you down to about there, giving you up to about there, and then your full 360 Exorcist as well. The back collar of his tactical vest not getting in the way of any of his side movements or tilts or what have you. So not too bad, reasonable. And then coming down into the shoulder, we've got the butterfly joint and the hinge and peg for your shuffle back and forth, all the way around, full 360, and then your T-shape out to there. Got a swivel here at the top of the bicep and tricep, pinless double elbow that will get you up to there, and then pegged in hands that can move around in the wrist, and the right hand's got the up and down hinge, and the left hand's got the forward and back hinge. The bracer here does get a little bit in the way of the up and down. Going down into the torso, he's got the standard G.I. Joe Classified series hinge across the middle and the ball in the waist. You can engage that hinge even with the tactical vest because it's got that kind of higher cut on it. You can take advantage of that, no problem at all. And then the ball in the waist can give you all that movement there like so. Going down into the legs, it's the drop-down joints at the hinge and groin. You can pull them down like so. It is a little bit restricted by the way the thigh holsters are attached to the gun belt at the top there, but you've got some of that movement, and then you can get forward as far as here, and you can Russian ballet out to there. Thigh cut at the top of the thigh there, pinless double knee that'll get you up to there. Thigh cut there at the top of the boot, with the shin guard sculpted over the top there so it doesn't get in the way, and then hinge and rocker in the ankles and feet. So yeah, thumbs up on the articulation. Sundown articulates well. It's no surprise. Regulars around these parts know I enjoy the G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation scheme. The only unique point I wanted to add is that my Sundown right out the box was quite loose in the ab crunch. He's a bit wibbly wobbly up top. Otherwise, though, fine, no problems at all. And certainly, well within the limits of what your imagination might try to do for a photo or a display, leaning into that kind of bounty hunter tracker style narrative for sure. So no problems there. Thumbs up. That's the second day articulation. Oh, I've just knocked him over. Second day articulation. All good and dandy. All right, let's now then take a look at the accessories and added value, shall we? And we're going to get things started by talking about his little Stetson here, his cowboy hat. So it's a swap. It's a hair swap with the hat. So you need to pop his hair off like so, which reveals this big chunky peg there at the top. You can see the peg hole in the bottom of the hair, and then you've got the matching peg hole at the bottom of the hat to pop it back on his head. And there we go. It's quite a tight fit. The peg's designed in a way to obviously hold the hat on very tight and hold the hair on very tight, so it's a bit of a fiddle to get on, but negligible. And you can see this is a nice classic kind of Stetson design with the big rim. Got the body of the hat. He's got some straps here holding a little medallion piece on the front, which is independently painted with a paint application. Got some little chips away in the rim as well, just like the poncho. Showing a bit of life, bit of wear and tear in the item there, but it's his favourite hat that was possibly given to him by his brother that he's looking for. Is that the story? I've forgotten now. I've said that on a hot camera, on a hot mic. But yeah, nice contours and shapes in there. A lovely addition that leans heavily into the cowboy aesthetic. Then into his weapons loadout, we'll start with the knife here. Got that lovely dark metallic paint application on the blade there with all the kind of metallic shine to it, which is really nice. And the brown wooden handle, got that kind of indigenous sort of Central American condor knife shape and vibe to it too, which is nice, leans into the character's origins. And Sundown comes with this tomahawk as well. Nice wooden brown handle with the wooden grain sculpted in, and that same dark metallic paint application across the blade and spike at the top. And then Sundown is all in on the theme because he's got a couple of 6-shooters here. These are painted in black. These are black plastic here with the 6-shooter shape in them. So you've got the chamber and the barrel and everything, and the nice sculpted wooden handles with a little kind of sculpted motif in there. I am, however, too blind to really make out what those are. But yeah, he's got his two thigh-holstered 6-shooters. On-figure storage for all of this weaponry as well. Knife goes in on the sheath on the front of his tactical vest. 6-shooters in the thigh holsters, and the tomahawk in a loop on the back of his belt. So yeah, it's a good solid accessory selection. It doesn't look like a lot once you put it all on the figure, but there's stuff there. Obviously leans very heavily into the theme with the Stetson hat and the 6-shooters and the tomahawk and so on and so forth, and that's all fine. Would I like more? Of course I would. I always want more. I suppose, in theory, you're counting the poncho as another accessory item as well. So I think I am going to say added value. A bit thinner on the ground than you might get with some figures, but it's all right, and it all works with the narratives, with the storytelling you might want to try and do with the figure when you're displaying him or photographing him. So that's all fine with me. So I think I'm going to give the accessories a thumbs up. Right, so there you go. There's Sundown's accessory. Let's now take a look at him next to a couple of other figures, shall we? Right, first comparison here, I popped him next to Outback. I kind of had this sort of outdoorsy, tracking people down vibe that I like together. Along the same lines, here's Spirit as well, another tracker specialist tracker in the G.I. Joe lineup, and I think they're a really good match, them pair. Here's Sundown next to Wavemate Airtight, just to really show off how colourful the G.I. Joe side of your shelf can get with your orange t-shirted Outback, your yellow and green Airtight, and your turquoise blue Sundown. And then finally, just while I'm on that theme of trackers, bounty hunters, etc., here is Shadow Tracker, the Cobra side of the tracker specialism. Okay, folks, well, here's a nice 360 view of Sundown going round on the turntable. And while you have an eyeball of that, I'll offer up some final thoughts. And I think the tone of the review speaks for itself. I like this guy. I think he's really, really interesting. I like that he's bringing something fresh and new to the overall vibe of the G.I. Joe side of the G.I. Joe Classified series shelf. He's unique, with his own theme tied into the character that has some synergy with the likes of Spirit and Wild Bill for sure, but also brings his own flavour as well, which I'm into. I think as a unique new creation and, a new character for G.I. Joe Classified series, it's a good swing as well. I know for some, the idea of the cowboy theme hasn't landed very well, and I get that too. But it works for me. I like it. It sits right with the kind of weird and wacky G.I. Joe umbrella that sort of encompasses a bit of everything in it. And this works. So, if you can have ninjas and science fiction dudes with lasers and all that other good stuff, then why not have, a Wild West styled bounty hunter tracker dude? It just adds up, really adds up. So all in all, I'm really happy with the figure actually. And while I've had limited desk figure time this week for sure, this is the one I've kind of reached for most frequently when I have been at home this week. So that's telling me something, that's telling me something. So I'm going to give Sundown a thumbs up. I'm all for it. All right, well, there we go, folks. There's my review. I hope if you have been thinking about purchasing Sundown, this has helped you make up your mind. Let me know in the comments down below if you've gone for him or not. All that remains to say is thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day. Have yourselves a great week. And swing back around again for another video sometime soon, folks, okay? I'd love to have you. All right, ta-ra now.